On to our next big story, Trump's inauguration. We tell you Trump's big promises as he's all set to be the President of the United States with his inauguration tomorrow, that is January 20th. And these are the big promises that he has made. He plans the largest deportation operation in the US history, vows to end birthright citizenship despite constitutional protections. He promises end to devastating inflation, crisis, tariffs and big cuts to taxes. Importantly, he also plans to elevate crypto as a policy priority, vows to propose 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada. Tariff war also with China, threatens 10% tariffs on Chinese imports over fentanyl components in particular. Some also see this as a negotiation tactic, but risk of trade conflicts persists. He's also hinted at pardon for Capitol riot participants. He claims credit for the ceasefire brokered by Biden administration and pledges to end the Russia-Ukraine war, though the specifics remain vague at the moment. As far as the climate regulation is concerned, he plans to cut some of these regulations, push for expanded oil and gas drilling. He plans to repeal Biden's green policies, including EV electric vehicle tax credit, vows to end transgender rights in schools and military, promises to cut funding for schools teaching critical race theory. Some of the broad agenda points as far as Donald Trump is concerned. And Donald Trump is all set to become US President on January 20th, when his inauguration will take place. And talk about the global ramification of this inauguration. Joining me is Professor Anshu Joshi from the Center of American Studies at the JNU. Good morning and welcome, ma'am. As we see that the era of Trump's America is set to begin, and the kind of disruptor image that he embodies, what does his second presidency mean for America and the world?
Shubhendu, it is quite early to predict or assume anything related to Trump's second tenure. But as we all have seen what he prioritized and how he worked during his first tenure, at least we can draw an overarching picture related to some significant themes that actually span around global politics. So ranging from the two wars presently that are going on in different parts of the world, to like the competition of United States of America, China, to what is happening in Indo-Pacific, to the domestic issues of United States of America. There are different themes, and definitely Trump has his own style to work. So one by one, if we try to decode, one thing is certain, that during this tenure, though he is very unpredictable, but what he promised during his electoral campaign and what we have seen in his last tenure, his policies, be it about his foreign policy or the domestic policies, would be focused more on the domestic issues of United States of America, as he has promised also. And I think he would follow this America strategy by and large, emphasizing the prioritized US interests at present. So I do see that he might cut down on the foreign aids to the other countries that United States of America is providing presently. For example, with respect to Ukraine. And then there would be outcomes of such decisions taken by Trump in future. Maybe the war between Russia and Ukraine could end because of this step taken by Trump. But these are only speculations at present, Shubhendu. And definitely we can see stricter policies in terms of tariffs and when it comes to the economic domain. And when it comes to China, I think it would be kind of the same stance that was taken by Biden also, and prior to that by Trump himself.
Right. Professor Joshi, I understand any new American president would respond to the immediate geopolitical realities. In that sense, how is America of Trump 2.0 different from what it was during his first presidency?
So when Trump was the president last time, Shubhendu, there were no wars, at least. And from this angle, when we look at Trump, he was more peaceful when we compare his tenure to the tenure of Biden. Because all of us know that when Russia-Ukraine war started, what was the geopolitical scenario and how Biden actually fueled this war. I have no inhibitions in making this statement. And how NATO kept strengthening Ukraine to stand firmly in the war and not to like come to the diplomatic table. Now, when we look at the second tenure of Trump, his priorities are very clear and he is businessman by nature. So that is why I said that when he would now take the oath tomorrow, he might cut down on the aids and help that United States of America is providing either directly or indirectly through NATO to Ukraine. And that might bring a big change, as in the leaders might agree to come to the diplomatic table. We also know that last time when Trump was the president, how he initiated a peace program in the West Asian region for like win-win situation for all the like-minded nations involved in the situation there, and Abraham Accord could be signed because of his efforts. This time the war is already on, though there is a peace agreement now between the two parties that are involved in the conflict.
That starts today, the ceasefire.
Yes, but this is not the end of the war. It is only a truce. So definitely from last time, again, the situation is different. Last time when he was the president, he had made it sure that this peace program should prevail. But now when he is becoming the president, next time there is a war scenario there. So situation is different there as well. You look at Europe, how European nations were doing really good last time when he was the president. And this time when he's taking the oath, most of the European nations are gripped in one or the other kind of economic crisis, maybe because of getting involved through NATO in helping Ukraine. So again, the situation is different. You come to the Asian region, what is happening in Bangladesh, what has happened to Pakistan, what is happening in Nepal, how China is spreading its feet and like involving more and more nations into BRI. So again, for Trump, it would be a different situation than his last time's tenure.
Right, and if you look at his election slogan, go back to it, make America great again. Yes. And to realize that, who are likely to be his, I should say, key allies and opponents in realizing this vision, according to you?
When we look at his this strategy, this mission of making America great again, he actually, I think, seems to be prioritizing the domestic issues ranging from like inflation to unemployment and other economic situation and challenges, I would say, related to United States of America. So here he definitely looks at China as again, like always, the biggest competitor of America from like the domain of world trade to defense to technology. Also, I would add to it. So there, definitely Trump would continue with the policy that he adopted last time, and China seems to remain #1 competitor of United States of America. But here I would also add another angle of his probable economic policies, and especially related to tariff and the kind of controversial statements that he had already made with regards to, for example, Mexico and Greenland and Canada. So there I see that basically he actually sticks to his mission of making America great again. And there he made all such kind of statements, and he is coming up with the, his probable policies. And there definitely there would be a tiff with the like-minded nations, as in India also, because there are a lot of discussions related to, for example, this H-1B visa program.
Right.
But now Trump seems to be taking a step back, and he seems to be more lenient, at least a day before he is going to take oath, as in the for his second tenure. Maybe because of his the closest allies who are the owners of the biggest tech companies, and how this H-1B visa program helps these tech companies in terms of creating a win-win situation for both like highly skilled talent from overseas countries, as well as like for making more revenues, we all know. So Shubhendu, it seems like, at the moment, it is like a Pandora box, and we'll have to wait to see how it opens But definitely the epicenter would be like making America great again, or for that matter, America first policy.
Interestingly, ma'am, Pandora's box, as you use that phrase. Just want to spend a little more time on what it means for India, Trump's presidency. You mentioned the issue of H-1B visa. There's, of course, economic ties. The strategic engagement has gone from strength to strength. In its entirety, how do you see the trajectory of the relationship between the two nations under Trump's presidency?
That's a very good question, Shuvendu, and I wanted to speak on this particular theme, India-United States of America relations. We all saw that when Trump was the president last time, how the new chapter between the strategic partnership between India and United States of America opened. And like from nuclear capabilities to technology related capabilities to this counter-terrorism measures, to different agreements related to fostering trade relations, economic relations, defense relations, cultural relations began when Trump was the president, and we had Narendra Modi ji as our prime minister. And I can never forget that scene when he visited India and he visited Motera Stadium in Gujarat, and how both the leaders shook their hands, and the kind of statements that both of them made. So that was a new era when we look from this strategic partnerships perspective. So I think both the nations have a lot in common when we look from opportunities point of view also, and from challenges point of view also. So terrorism is a big brunt and challenge for United States of America also, as well as for India. So definitely in this particular domain, I see the relations would become better and would take new turns. And here then we can add partnership related to technology also.
Right.
And there also I see, a bright future between both the nations. So from foreign policy perspective, as in considering common challenges, definitely both the nations would go along. When it comes to tariff related points, or for that matter, this visa related challenges, yes, I do see some, irritants there, but I think that we have more interests as in common than the challenges. So I think that the relationship would foster and would strengthen more.
Right. Professor Anshu Joshi, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective, ma'am.